Hello, Chargers fans. Welcome into the Guilty as Charged podcast. Big news out of Los Angeles. According to Adam Schefter, the Chargers and wide receiver Mike Williams have reached an agreement on a 3-year, $60 million deal that includes $40 million guaranteed and $28 million in year one, a source tells ESPN. We don't know exactly how that's going to be structured, but that's generally what we know right now. So to talk about that, we obviously had to bring on Arjun, who's been doing some cap calculations. Arjun, were you surprised that this dropped? Were you kind of worried that they were approaching the tag deadline? And was it going to happen? What was your reaction when you first saw this?
Yeah, no, so I thought it was just gonna be a tag and that'd be it, and we might see a deal later down the road, but man, this was like the deal itself is great for Mike Williams. Like this came in a little bit higher than I thought. Like I said, I think on my video, I said Mike Williams is gonna get more than people think. And I know at
Mm,
PFF, Brad had Mike at like 18.25 around that, but I was like, there's too much going for him, right? Career year in receptions and receiving yards.
right.
He has first the first round draft pick bias. So this is a really good deal for Mike. This isn't the greatest team deal. So I'm like I want to see how it plays out. 40 mil or okay, so I guess I when I put my tweet I just put my tweet out and I forgot to read that it was 28 million year one.
Mm,
But it seems like this is like okay, Mike's staying with the team for 3 years. He's going to be here for the remainder of Herbert's rookie contract. So that's
right.
my take on it. Whether they decide to keep him or not afterwards, is going to be interesting. But really great deal for him. Just the obviously paying two receivers 20 mil APY is going to be the challenge.
Yes, absolutely. So what? Okay, so I know you talk. Obviously, this is a good deal for Mike Williams. Nobody can dispute that. For Mike Williams, this is a fantastic deal. But and I do have over the cap open, so we could jump over to that. But how is this for the? So how does $28 million guaranteed in year one work in terms of cap it? I guess we can go to over the cap and
Yeah, no.
calculate
So
that.
okay, so I'm not. I need to, like I said, it's I need to. I'm navigating my own Twitter and what Rappaport and Schefter said. But from
Right.
my understanding, if okay, so I'm just waiting for everything to load because the Russell news is also like clouding up my timeline. Um.
Yeah.
Okay, so Schefter said, okay, so I think it's Schefter who brought up the year one stuff. So if
Right.
Schefter is saying 28 million in year one, there's two
Hmm.
ways to interpret that, right? So the
Okay.
first way is in terms of cash flow. So cash
Mm,
flow means you're taking his base salary plus the entire signing bonus.
okay.
So the cap number is not the 28 million in this scenario.
That's
In
what
this
everyone's worried about. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't think they're gonna do that because that's not what Tom Telesco does. But I might have brought it up on my episode, but like the Chargers could easily try to front load deals now because they have a rookie
Hmm.
contract and they could try to put more money up front. But what I think is happening is Mike Williams is going to get 28 mil in terms of cash flows in year one. So this is his signing bonus, his entire signing bonus plus his base salary. So like if his signing bonus is something like 20 million, right?
Hmm.
That means his base salary is like 8 million. So that would put him at a $28 million cash flow, but his
Hmm.
cash hit or his cap hit for 2022 will be 20 divided by 3, which is like 6.6 plus 8
Hmm.
mil. So his actual cap hit, which I think comes in, which I even tweeted about, will come out to
Mm,
be around like 14 point something,
mm,
and then it'll steadily increase because I don't see a way where they're going to front load his contract in terms of cap hit. That's not what Tom Telesco does. And even though
mhm.
they have Herbert on a rookie contract, you don't like necessarily want to front load contracts because the cap's going to keep going up and up, right? So that's when like I'm looking at it as his cap hit as a percentage of the overall cap, if that
Mhm.
makes sense. So
Okay.
yeah, that's my take on it.
No, that's much better. I think everyone just saw the $28 million in year one, and we said, "Why the hell did we just do that?"
Look,
But,
look, look. Schefter does not do a good job of tweeting
Mm,
about like how's the contracts work in terms of the salary cap. He routinely messes up like simple, or it's not. I guess it's not that simple, but like he routinely messes up like wording his tweets so that the
yes.
public understands. So, like I said, I think he's talking in terms of cash flows, which in terms of the overall length of the contract probably means he has a decently high signing bonus.
Yeah. Okay. So just to calculate this, I went ahead early on and cut Brian Balaga. I just feel like that's a move that's going to happen. So they're currently at 67.1 ish $1 million in cap space. So let's do that deal here based on what you suggested. So if they had just franchised him, they'd be at 48.6 million dollars this year in terms of cap space. Because they extended him, hope to get a little bit better than that. So let's go through. Sorry to bug you again to do this, but this is not my thing. If you want me to culture some human stem cells for you, I can do that. But in terms of
No, no,
contracts,
no.
I
This
can't
is
do
this
that.
is good. This is good. So we can do so for the prorated bonus. Let's do six, 6.67 each year. So
Cool.
6.67 mil.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah, it's just the uneven calculations because they didn't announce a signing bonus unless I'm mistaken. Unless someone wants to drop it in the chat. But so I'm just kind of going off what I think it's gonna be.
So I
So
can
the
only
for the
hit non-prorated bonuses. Not. I don't know why it's not letting me do prorated.
Okay, well,
But
you can just do it. You can just do it in there. It'll
okay.
come
So
out
for
to be
this one, you
the
want 6.6.
yeah
And then
yeah
just
looks good.
so all of them like that.
Yeah.
So what are we doing right now? Just explain it to everyone who's watching
So
or in
so the
here.
non so the non prorated so basically we're inputting the signing bonuses over the course of the contract. So I believe it's gonna be somewhere around like 20 mil, just based
Hmm.
on like what the market is and like how the receivers are. So then in terms of the base salary, let's do 8 mil in year one.
Okay. And why are we able to hit 8 mil in year one?
Well, like I said, it's just projections,
Yeah. Yeah.
but a low year one cap hit in, relative to the APY.
Yeah. Hmm.
And then also, if we're thinking in terms of his year one cash flow, which is reported at this time to be $28 million, then we're looking at around 20 million in the signing bonus plus the base salary of 8 mil. Tyler, let's make that fully guaranteed also in year one, and that will be his year one cap. So his year one cash flow will be around 28, his year one cash flow will be 28 mil, and his year one cap hit will be around the 14 to 15 area, which is what Tom Telesco generally does.
Okay, so I had to tweet out our link to make sure everyone was be able to follow us along here and get the actual projected sort of guess numbers. So what I'm trying to say is, can you please say that again?
Yeah. So okay, so we're looking at a $20 million signing bonus,
Hmm.
6.6 prorated over, or 6.67 prorated over the 3 years.
Hmm.
And since Schefter reported 28 in year one, I'm thinking it's 28 mil in terms of year one cash flow, not cap hit.
Hmm.
So to be able to do that, we inputted an $8 million base salary so
Hmm.
that the year one cash flow comes out to be 8 mil or 28 million in terms of cash flow in year one.
Okay, and so the guaranteed salary is fully.
Yeah, so that's what I'm guessing. And Schefter reported 40 mil fully guaranteed at signing. So we're gonna have to get some fully guaranteed in somewhere.
Right. Okay, so what would we like to do for guaranteed week one or year one? The
Fully guaranteed. So
14.6 or the 8
no, no,
million?
8. Yeah, just 8,
Okay.
just 8.
Okay. So we're
Okay.
thinking,
Yeah.
all right. Okay.
And then if we want to go over, so I think year two will come out to be around like 20, 21, 22 mil. So for year two, let's do 15, or for base salary, let's do 15.5 million. And then let's do 12 for the wait, no. Yeah, let's do 12 for the guaranteed salary, 12 mil out of that. So pretty much guarantees him a roster. Well, he's gonna stay on the roster. This is a full 3 year deal, which is almost like fully guaranteed, unless I'm still waiting on the actual numbers. But and
Hmm.
then year three, we need to get this to like 24 million or 20, yeah, 24 mil. So let's do 18, or let's do 17.5. And then nothing guaranteed. So like
So we gotta,
so the actual numbers, I think we might need to fudge a little bit because
yeah, do
six,
your thing, dude.
yeah, so 6,600. Okay.
So the good news,
Okay, wait.
obviously, sorry, go.
We're 800,000 above. So let's subtract let's subtract three. Let's subtract four from 2024 in the base salary, and then four from 400,000.
Oh, sorry. What was the number?
um
17.1?
yeah, let's do 17.1 and then 15.1 for the other one. Sorry.
You're good. I'm like, all right, cool. It's a discount. All right. Come on.
Okay,
Sorry.
15.1. So this should put us at 3 years 60, and the signing bonus is at like 19.8, but it doesn't really matter. It's pretty much all the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this is the Mike Williams deal. Like I said, it's a really good deal for him, and it's pretty much a player friendly deal, but that's just the way it is when you're re-signing an in-house free agent coming off a career year and
Mm-hmm.
was the former seventh overall pick.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of it. So yeah.
Yeah. So, I think it's okay. Just one quick question also. So
Yeah.
40 million is guaranteed.
Yeah, 40 mil is fully guaranteed. So the fully guaranteed is going to include guaranteeing part of the base salary.
Mm-hmm.
There might be some roster bonuses in year 2 and 3, but probably just year 3 because it's a 3-year deal, and
Right.
the roster bonus is kind of just saying, okay, we think you're going to be we won't cut you after the new league year starts. So, but you can't add a roster bonus here, so it doesn't really. We'll just put it all in P5.
Okay.
But yeah, this is how I think the structure of the deal is going to look.
And then remind me how we got to so if it's a $40 million guaranteed, remind me and everyone how the only 20 million here like how does that work? Is it
Yeah,
because of
so
the
yeah, so to get to 40 million, we need to do signing bonus plus guaranteed salary. So the
Mhm.
signing bonus, like I said, I still don't know the numbers. If Schefter or Rappaport or tweeted, it'd be great. But I'm guessing it's going to be something around like 20 million. Could
Okay.
be anywhere from 18 to 22. But I wouldn't. It's a 3-year deal, so the actual signing bonus might be a little bit lower than what I'm thinking. But
Mhm.
in terms of my projections, if we have a $20 million signing bonus, we need to make up for that in guaranteed salary. So actually, could we make year two 12.2 million?
In the
Just
base
so
or
no,
guaranteed?
no, the guaranteed, just so we have a 40. Yeah, so that should come out to be around 40 mil
Okay.
in fully guaranteed.
Okay, fantastic. So the way I'm really looking at this, if it's like this, and obviously we'll have to wait for more numbers. We're just guessing, but obviously I trust your judgment to sort of get this pretty close. It's a lower cap hit than a tag, obviously. If I'm not right, like we're not going to instead of an 18 or 18.5 million, we've sort of almost saved $4 million this year. Is that right? Does that sound right?
Yeah,
Okay, so technically we opened up more cap space by doing this extension. Well, oh sorry, I guess instead of a tag, we've
yeah,
saved
exactly.
4 million
Yeah,
this year rather than tagging him.
that's why the extension is so important, because now
Mhm.
you lower his year one or cap hit, and that it helps all around. And extensions are always usually better than franchise
Mhm.
tags.
Yeah, and I mean, some people were worried, like, Williams is like a $12 million to $14 million a year guy, not an 18 to $20 million a year guy. But if the first cap hit is at least 14 and a half, basically, that's not bad. Like if you told me that his cap hit this year was 14 and a half million, like that's not the worst thing I've heard in terms of at least a cap hit. And it's only for
Hmm.
1 year, I know, and things get more complicated. But then after that, so it's a very low number this year. And then next year, it's a bigger deal, obviously, but it's really only a 2-year contract. I mean, really, it's a 2-year contract with an out after two. And then what could they do? What do you think they could do in that second year? Let's say if the money's not really working, but like they have a lot guaranteed. What kind of cap manipulation can they do? Let's say Williams like misses the entire season this year and like blows out his ACL, or he plays the whole year and he gets 800 yards and it's just awful season for him. What can they do in 2023 to help make that 21.7, that huge number, maybe not look so bad?
Well, if we're being honest, like it really isn't a 2-year deal. I think it's a full 3-year deal because you're not going to cut a Mike Williams with 6.6 mil in dead cap.
Mm.
So really, this is a 3-year deal. But I guess like if Mike doesn't live up to the expectations or he's not living up to the contract, which if we're being real, like it's going to be tough for him to justify this contract. Like it
Mm-hmm.
really is. Like I think, and I
Yes.
talked about it so much before the season ended. Like the Chargers are going to have to overpay for Mike Williams, but they can do that because they have Herbert on a rookie contract.
Mm-hmm.
Now, can he reach the point of play to where he can justify this 20 mil APY? Sure. But I think it's more likely that
Mm-hmm.
we see him slightly underperform relative to where his contract is performing at, maybe like a 17 18 APY level. But that's still worth it because we need him in this offense, and like you're not going to be able to replicate his type of size and versatility down the field. So
Right.
in terms of year 3, the only way we'd be able to make that look better is if he completely falls off a cliff, injured year 1, injured year 2, or just 2 really bad years, under 1,000 yards. They could force him to take a pay cut, similar to Denzel Perriman in his last year of the contract, where they say, hey, you haven't really lived up to what we
Right.
paid you to
Exactly.
do, and we're going to lower your cap hit down to like, something lower. So that's pretty much the only way they have of changing this contract. Otherwise, this this is kind of the thing they're stuck with.
Yeah. No, they're definitely stuck with it. We'll see. Before we move on, because I do want to enter this in and get an actual number of where they're at this year. What do you think this could mean for Keenan Allen, or do you think it means anything at all?
No, I don't think it means anything. I think that the Chargers, so really what they did is they just went top heavy. Now they have Keenan and Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Palmer's on a rookie deal. Guyton is going to be pretty cheap. This pretty much rules out bringing anyone in during free agency externally. Look to the
Mm-hmm.
draft, get a Sky Moore or your guy Calvin Austin. That's where I think, if anything, how they improve the receiver room. But yeah, I'm just sorry. I'm just trying to process everything. This is like it's hard to put
Dude,
everything.
I'm just trying to tweet it out to social media to
Yeah,
people
and
like,
the Russell trade is also throwing me off.
yeah.
I'm
So I'm gonna talk about that in
yeah,
a second. Let me just tweet out what we kind of have here.
yeah,
So
yeah.
cap hit, da, 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 uh-huh, uh-huh, 2024, 23.7.
I can look at some comments maybe. Yeah, so guys, if for the people watching, like when Schefter said 28 mil year 1, to me, I think he's saying 28 mil in terms of cash flow. So that's taking the entire signing bonus plus his base salary in year 1. That's his cash flow. His cap hit, which is what is more important in this scenario for the Chargers, is going to be lower than the APY he signed for of 20 mil because that's how Tom Telesco structures his deals, and that's how these deals normally gets done. So remember,
Mm-hmm.
28 mil is referring to the cash flow, not the cap hit.
All right, Arjun. We've just when we started doing this, we had like 80 people. Now we're at 172. So I apologize one more time. Just for we're not going to
Yeah.
make you do this again, but we're going to reach 200 people watching live right now. So can you just quickly break down from Adam Schefter's original tweet, which I can like you already know what that is, but okay, so
Mm-hmm.
just for everyone who just showed up, Mike Williams, 3-year, $60 million deal, $40 million guaranteed, 28 million in year 1, but that's obviously not quite how it works. So Arjun, one more time, can you
Yeah, yeah.
just recap what this is, and then we'll move on?
Okay, so yeah, so Tyler just read through the official structure of the deal in terms of like, how it is from the overall standpoint. What we're looking at is, let's start with the cash flow. I just went over it. 28 mil in year 1 means I think he's going to get 20 mil in terms of signing bonuses. And to get to 28 mil in year 1, we're going to add 8 mil in the base salary to get to $28 million from in terms of cash flow. So I think, the way we structured the contract, me and Tyler broke it down right here. We're looking at a 14.6 cap hit in year one, which is the 6.6 or the 6.67 prorated bonus plus the 8 mil base salary, fully guaranteed. In year two, we're looking at a 21.7 cap hit. And in year three, we're looking at a 23.7 cap hit. So remember, I'm projecting this to be around a $20 million signing bonus. And to get to 40 million fully guaranteed, we have to fully guarantee Mike Williams' first year of his contract, and partially, I think it comes out to be around like 0.75 or 0.8 or something. Guarantee 0.75 or 75% of his base salary in year two. So through this, we can see that it's a 3-year, $60 million deal, 40 million fully guaranteed, which is the guaranteed salary plus a signing bonus. And yeah, that's the contract. Oh, see, that's much easier. Yeah.
Sorry,
So
my bad.
no, no, it's perfect. So obviously the numbers might be a little off, or it might be a little bit above 60 mil, but it's kind of chump change at this point.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Well, that's it. So the cap hit, the Chargers will, if this holds, and if it's like this, the Chargers will have $52.4 million in cap space to work with this year. And obviously 81, 147 the next 2 years. So just to kind of work backwards from that, you explained the whole thing. I'm not gonna make you do it again. But so the cap hit for the Chargers this year, because of what Arjun projects as the 2022 cap hit, right now, because of that extension, they have $52.4 million to work with in free agency. If they had just franchise tagged him, they would have $48.6 million to work with in free agency. So you get about $4 million here. I don't know. Sorry, I forgot what the previous number was, but about $4 million extra to work with this year. And then you figure out that problem potentially later on. We expect that he doesn't live up to that contract, but it is what it is. So let me just extend him again. Congratulations. I'm just gonna do sorry, what was it? 8 and then 6, something like that.
Yeah.
With the whole thing guaranteed. Is that what it was?
Mm-hmm.
But just to look at 2022 cap hit, everyone. Chargers $52.4 million in cap space. So the question now becomes, and I do want to be able to, discuss this, is what do the Chargers do next? I don't. If you want to bail at any point, you can, Arjun. I do want to look at some of the free agents that are available. So this is what I have right now. If you guys can't see this because you're on your phones, I apologize. This is just on a Google sheet. I just do my rankings. I take everyone, rank them in X amount of categories, give their average ranking, rank them based on that. I've discussed it a couple of times. It's just an easy way for me to kind of figure out who's where. So Adams, it sounds like he's returning. I think he was tagged. Godwin is either tagged or he's going to get a deal. I'm going to assume that Marquez Valdez-Scantling is going to return to Green Bay. It sounds like Rodgers wanted him there, but we'll see. Obviously, Mike Williams is going to stay. And him being at number 3 here of all free agent wide receivers, that's not bad. So we'll see what everybody else gets too. And I guess I'm sort of glad that he got his deal before Godwin and Adams were announced. Like, do you think this could have been significantly worse if Godwin and Adams had their deals first? Although they might just not publicly.
No, this is like I said, extending Mike Williams is great. I'm happy that they did it. I'm happy for him. It's a great deal for him. I really don't know what Godwin's going to get. I think he could get a similar deal to Mike. And now that Mike signed first, which I preached in my last video, if you don't, or in my Derwin article or about safeties, if you're not the first team to sign a player at that position, you're going to pay more than what you normally are going to get. So I think if Godwin got a long-term deal and it came out to be like 18 or 19, Mike might have gotten a same deal or even higher. So good job for the Chargers to get this done, because I don't know. I was expecting the receiver market to be a bit depreciated after last year, but now I don't know. Like this could be higher than anyone thought. And even I've talked about this with Brad since November. this is like it's higher than what we thought, and it just goes to show like there's a bunch of factors that people just don't account for, which
Right.
you have to take into account.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, so at this point, I do have Pro Football Focus and their their projections for every free agent. Is there a particular free agent on this list that you are interested in at this point? So we're gonna go through wide receiver, tight end, and running back. I can go through any one of those three sets, but I do want to talk about what do the Chargers do from here, because like obviously now they're not going to go get a big outside receiver. And we'll talk about that in the draft as well. At least I don't think, especially because you think it's a 3-year deal really for Mike Williams. I mean, it is, but like a true
Hmm.
$3 million 3-year deal. So at this point, like, is there a particular name on here you'd like to see the Chargers, go after? Jalen Guyton is up for that tender. That's not really what Staley sounded like he wanted, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him back. But is there anybody in particular that would now match what we know is going to be their duo for the next 2-3 years? Is there a guy that you'd want them to go get, either a wide receiver, tight end, and then I guess we can talk about running back too?
Well, the tight end market is pretty much gonzo at this point. Like, it was supposed to look really good. Brad was tweeting
Yeah,
about it. He's like, "This is supposed to be one of the best tight end free agency markets," and now there's like no one.
nothing. Yeah.
So I guess you have to, like, I'm not saying make a splash at receiver. Just get
Hmm.
someone that complements the receiver room.
Right.
If they
Hmm.
want to bring back Jalen Guyton, that's fine. Like, I thought he played well in the system. Like, he didn't really make as many mistakes, and he
Hmm.
does add an element of speed that the other three just don't have. But
Right.
they should just be going after a speed guy. Like, that could be Christian Kirk, and he's had opportunities to be a legitimate number two on his team. Guidance fine. I mean, you could take a flyer on a Marquise Goodwin, but to me, you just go to the draft and you get one of the guys who
Yeah.
ran a 4.43 or 4.4. So Sky
All of
Moore,
them.
your guy Calvin Austin. I mean, there's guys like you don't need to. You can wait until the draft, and the Chargers
Hmm.
have a good enough roster to where they can plug enough holes in free agency and work from there.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I did want to ask you about, because I know, Steven and I weren't quite so sure. So the Browns at this point did not tender Ernest Johnson. And I think that's like the number one running back that Chargers fans want to add because of the mileage, the productivity, the efficiency, and stuff like that. So can you just explain what the Chargers would need to do, or like, do they need to do anything? Are they just waiting for him to officially be a free agent when the time comes, or how does that work? Because the Browns have not tendered him thus far.
So, okay, I'll be honest, I'm not as familiar with the tenders as I am with like franchise tags, but
Hmm.
from my understanding, I think the deadline to tender him is today, or it's tendering up until free agency starts or the tampering period starts. So I think it ends today in an hour and a half. If they don't
Mm-hmm.
tender him, he becomes a prospective unrestricted free agent. And what that means is the Chargers can't tamper with him
Hmm.
legally tamper with him until the 16th, which is when free agency officially opens. And when that happens, they can reach out and try to sign him. But we all know how the legal stuff goes. Like he'll be talking. The agents will be calling the GMs and stuff.
Right, absolutely. Okay, good to know. Just wanted to throw that out there for everyone who was wondering about Ernest Johnson. I know our YouTube audience isn't the same as our Twitter audience, so we've kind of discussed it on Twitter, but not necessarily on YouTube here. So okay, that's good to know. So that's out there. With some of the tight end deals. So we know for sure Njoku and Gesicki are tagged. It sounds like Schultz was tagged, right? Like he's going to get tagged.
Yeah, yeah. I think he got officially tagged.
Okay. Am I missing anybody else from this group that's here? Austin Hooper might become available because of the Njoku thing, so we'll see.
Yeah,
Although the
that
cap.
I heard. Sorry, I heard that was going to be a post June 1st cut, if
Oh,
anything.
okay. Oh,
So
look at
they'd
Arjun.
have to they'd have to wait a while because the his cap hit or his dead money is significantly lower after. I don't know the exact numbers, but I know it's much lower than the dead money they take on if they cut him now, which I think is like 11.5 mil when I checked
Yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah, it wasn't a good number. And then obviously Rob Gronkowski is a popular option for some Chargers fans. It just depends on what the hell he wants to do. So yeah, okay, we'll see what they do there. Talked about running back, wide receiver. We sort of talked about. Okay, last thing I want to just get into real fast is the wide receivers in this draft. And basically, you have Mike Williams, and it's not like if it was just the tag, then you can make a case for someone like maybe a Drake London, I guess even Traylon Burks to a certain extent. as guys that you bring on. That when Williams departs, you can bring those guys in as your sort of bigger targets. But now that Mike Williams is here and Keenan Allen's going to be here, and they're both going to be here for 2 years, I would say at least. Who does that eliminate in your mind as a potential target for the Chargers, barring some sort of dramatic draft fall where you just have to take him?
Yeah, you pretty much just cross off Drake London and Traylon Burks, in my opinion, just
Okay.
because it's just repetitive at that point, and you want to have diversity in this receiver room, and like, you know, I guess Traylon Burks would not like. Okay, well,
Depends.
I don't think you fully cross them off, but like, I just
Hmm.
don't think it makes sense to have Burks and Williams or and whatever. You could, I mean, with Wilson and Olave, they have some speed, but like
Hmm.
both of them are comparable to Keenan Allen. I think Daniel Jeremiah even had Olave as like Keenan Allen, as a Keenan Allen-esque receiver. So like really, we cross up every receiver in the top in the first round, in my opinion, that
Okay.
projected to just
All
no,
right.
like,
Yeah, I get you.
and like, I just don't think it's a need anymore. And you don't like this unless like there's no CD Lamb type player where like if they fall to the Chargers, like it's worth, in my opinion. Like they have just too many other holes. But yeah, so in terms of like who I'd like, any receiver that's fast and has short term quickness, like I'll be honest, like I was at in Boston for like a sports analytics conference while the combine was going on, so I was
Hmm.
really following it in the night, and like again, like I didn't do a really good job of like keeping track of everything. So you'd be a better person to ask for that, like who they should pick in the third and fourth round. I just know
Yeah.
Calvin Austin's your guy.
Yeah, Calvin Austin is definitely my guy. I think what was really important about what Staley said he wanted was a receiver. People I think thought that he wanted a receiver who could run the full route tree and could burn downfield, and obviously that's ideal. But I think what he Staley seems like he really wanted was speed and someone who could burn downfield. But it's not obvious once they get onto the field that you're going to be throwing it deep to that person, which is basically why Jalen Guyton's kind of like because he's a go, he's a corner, that sort of thing. Whereas Calvin Austin, John Mechie, some of these guys, they can run routes in the league and they've clearly demonstrated that throughout their college careers, but they can also, fly deep. John Mechie hasn't run his 40, but Calvin Austin obviously 4.32. That would probably eliminate David Bell, in my opinion, who had an awful, awful combine.
Yeah.
Didn't look super great on tape in terms of athleticism, and then a 4.65. Like, not saying he can't win downfield, but I think at this point that's Mike Williams. So you want someone with speed that probably rules out Kyle Phillips, in my opinion. People like him, but he's obviously just not that kind of guy. So yeah, I mean Christian Watson that's just I don't want to say it's redundant, but that's kind of
Yeah,
redundant.
no, no. But like I get what you're saying. I get where you're going with it, and I agree.
Hmm. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. What they do, I do feel like they're going to look at like the guys who fall to round 2 or even round 3 and see what they can get there. I what is I know you're not real super familiar with tenders. If Guyton gets his tender, is that guaranteed, or can they just like tender him and then just like cut him after the draft? Is that possible?
Um, well, that's a good question. I'm not sure if the tenders are fully guaranteed. I
Yeah, me
I would
neither.
assume I would assume they're not. But like
Hmm.
the tender's pretty much only saying like if another team wants to sign him, they have to give the Chargers a pick. So
Hmm. Oh,
I
okay.
don't I don't think it's going to be guaranteed, but I could be wrong.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So to me, I do think Olave is still in play, especially because of where he's going to end up. I do think, Williams could be in, but like those are your two more vertical threats. I could be Traylon Burks, but like he'd be amazing. And he's my like this is my ranking of wide receivers. He's my wide receiver 1. But to me at that point, especially because Burks is kind of like the first or second receiver, and he's probably not going to be there anyway. I
Mhm.
think Williams, Olave are good. I like Pickens. I like Dotson. Dotson could fit as well. It's just trying to find someone who can work. I'm just curious what they do. The Keenan Allen thing is still really interesting to me. One quick thing I do want to get into. More people are still asking because we keep adding. We're almost at 2:30 now with people watching. So if one person asked, "What's the cap hit?" Or what are we at now in cap space with Mike Williams? We project it. The Chargers will have 52.4 million this year because of that extension, which is great. That means they have more money this year than they would have with the tag. My question for you, and someone asked this as well, what do you think this could mean for the way that they negotiate Derwin James extension? Because it sounds like that's not a done deal. That's going to happen. It's going to happen next month, in 2 months, in 3 months, whatever, but it's going to happen. That's the easiest slam dunk, and I think any Chargers fan would be happy with the deal. Do you think the way they did this deal changes anything about the way they did Derwin James deal, or they could do his deal?
No, I think to me they're two independent things. Like
Okay.
maybe the overall structure of the deal changes because like when you sign the contract extension for Derwin, his cap hit this year is going to decrease from like 9 to 5 or something. So maybe they backload the deal a little bit more, or maybe they don't. The year one cap hit isn't as low as we normally see for other players. But I think
Mhm.
the two contracts are independent events, and they won't really have too much of an effect on one another.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Well, the Chargers have opened up some space for themselves. I'm assuming they're cutting Brian Balaga here. If they don't, then we have a whole other situation. But I did cut him here. I extended Mike Williams based on what projected 52.4 million. So that is basically that. I will remove this from the stream. So I mean, at this point, I feel good about that first year cap hit being, lower,
Hmm.
obviously, than a tag. That's great. What happens from there? I don't know. But the Chargers could maybe make some things work there. I feel good about it. I think in a year where the next 2 years when you wanna go all in, it's kinda what you do, and I think
Yeah.
I mean, there were so many wide receivers that just took themselves out. I mean, Calvin Ridley bet himself away from being available, and Gallup tore his ACL, although I don't think he was ever available. And Godwin and Adams, they're returning, and Jameson Williams tore his ACL, and John Mechie tears his ACL, and George Pickens tore his ACL previously. And,
Yeah.
at some point, it was almost like Mike Williams was the only guy left. So, final
Yeah.
closing thoughts. What do you think of the deal for Mike Williams himself? What do you think of the deal for the team? And then just how do you feel about the deal?
So the deal was a great deal for Mike Williams. He
Mhm.
got everything that he kind of deserves, I guess, because he's improved,
Yeah.
had a really good year this year. I'm happy for him as a player. It's a great player friendly deal because 66.6%, let me repeat that, 66.6% of that deal is fully guaranteed. For reference, Keenan only had 40% of his deal fully guaranteed.
Wow.
Amari Cooper, 40%. Michael Thomas, 37. Kenny Galladay, 38.9. Tyreek, 34. Tyler Lockett, 34.8. Mike Evans, 46.4. Like, whatever hold Mike Williams and his agent had on this front office, they used that. And
Mhm.
like, it's crazy. It's a great deal for him. I'm not too excited from the team side because, like I said, I think they might have overpaid for a receiver that might never hit the ceiling that he needs to
Right.
to justify this deal. But I don't think you need him to hit that ceiling. You need him to produce at the level he produced this year, slightly better, slightly worse. If he can be 1,000-yard receiver for at least 2 or 3 years of this contract, I think it'll be good. But like I said, it was a great deal for Mike Williams getting that much fully guaranteed given his injury. Like he hasn't missed a ton of games, but we know like Mike is prone to an injury at any point in the game during training camp and whatever. I think it's a great deal for him. I think the Chargers did a good job of getting this deal done before Godwin and Allen Robinson signed their deals as well.
Mhm. Absolutely. All right. Well, we'll see what it means for the rest of free agency. For now, it does seem like we have 52.4 million in cap space to work with if they cut Brian Balaga. So, Steven, Alex, and I will do our show tomorrow. So if we get any more new news, we will bug the crap out of Arjun because we always bug Arjun,
Hmm.
who works for us
Yeah.
for far too cheap. All right. Well, Arjun, thank you so much for joining on. If I just done it myself, I would have been like, $28 million. That's a big number. But we have
Yeah.
someone like you who goes out and wins, big competitions against law students. So we appreciate you jumping on, even if the numbers aren't exact. It's a good, discussion point for sure. So, Arjun, thank you so much for joining on, guys. What do you think about this contract and the way we've described it? If you missed it, go back and watch the way we kind of broke it down. Arjun broke it down about 4 different times throughout this video. So if you missed it, I'm sure you'll find it at some point. I think the Chargers are in a good spot here, and Mike Williams is definitely in a good spot here. So,
Yeah.
guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments once we're done. You can submit them now in the chat, but I'm gonna end this in about 2 seconds. And of
Do
course, in
we
the comment
wait?
section.
Do we
Yeah,
do we not want to discuss the Russ trade at all?
sure. Why not? We
Just
have
just like
228 people here
yeah, just a
watching,
couple
guys.
minutes.
Yeah, first of all, yeah, I keep looking on Twitter and it keeps getting destroyed by notifications. Let me
Yeah,
go.
refreshing is just a pain right now. But the actual deal is really interesting for
Okay.
what the Seahawks are getting. So Broncos traded 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, a fifth, Drew Lock, which I guess
Hmm.
Shelby Harry and Noah Fant. And the Seahawks traded Russ in a 4th-round pick. Yeah, so
Whew.
this like I'm not saying this is a Deshaun Watson type deal, but like I feel like this is what the Texans are asking for Deshaun Watson, right?
Hmm.
Like maybe an extra first, but like
Yeah,
this is a big like it's a slightly big haul on the draft side. I'm surprised that the Broncos didn't have to give up like a Bradley Chubb or
I
like I
know.
didn't think I know Sotirian is probably off the table, but like Bradley Chubb's still on the team and like Shelby Harris is kind of old and like it's a very surprising deal. Like I think the Broncos won this trade if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I mean, the way I'm looking at it, I would have expected a name like, I mean, yeah, Noah Fant's a guy they drafted high and Drew Lock is, but like, come on, at this point, I expected, Judy, Sutton. I guess they signed Sutton, but like, Judy, Chubb, those guys. But I don't know if it's the Seahawks just didn't have as much, power and leveraging at this
Hmm.
point because Wilson has sort of hinted he's wanted out for what seems like 2 years now. Um, so yeah, I mean, I guess that's I'm bummed. Like I wish I had seen more good names for the Broncos leave. It's the fact that they get to swap out, just their roster from last year. They get to swap out Drew Lock for Russell Wilson. And maybe it's gonna stink, for them in a couple of years, but that's a pretty darn good team this year. Unless
Hmm.
Wilson falls off a cliff. So yeah, Herbert, Mahomes, Wilson, Derek Carr. They're gonna rock with Derek Carr and Josh McDaniels. We'll see how that goes. Um, Boy, I don't know how I feel about this because that defense was a problem for the Chargers
Well,
last
I'll
year.
put yeah, no, I'll put it this year though, this way. Russell struggled so much in the 3 games he played against Brandon Staley in 2020. Like those are 3 of the worst
Oh,
games he in his career. So and he's coming to a division where the Raiders and the Chargers are both playing this too high scheme, which has given Russ problems over the years. So I mean, I don't know, like maybe having a head coach and offensive coordinator that have played or have been a part of a team that has run the scheme will help Russ. But like it's interesting, and I mean, I think that the Broncos had to do this. Like they were you can't be stuck in QB purgatory and expect to be a championship contender. I just don't know if
right.
Russ. I just don't know if Russ has it anymore. And like the finger injury remains to be seen if like that was the cause for his struggles this year. But yeah, that's kind of my thought on it.
Okay. No, that's fantastic. All right, now we will officially leave because this is a Chargers
Yeah,
podcast, but this is very relevant. Okay,
yeah.
we are out of here, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Take care, and as always, bolt up.